Hey guys, it's Quinn. In today's segment, which I have not done in years, comparison of the Bond films, where I choose two Bond films that I find similar for one reason or another and break them down to see which is objectively a better Bond film. Now, I've gained many subscribers since the last time I've done this, so I'm going to get you guys up to speed. I will give each film points based on categories, which I will go through as the video goes on. Today is what I describe as two of the silliest Bond films in the series, Octopussy and Tomorrow Never Dies. Both with great action, yet a thin plot. You either love this film or you hate them, and that goes for both of them. But let's find out which is objectively a better Bond film. Not film, Bond film. Let's crack at it. Round 1 is the gun barrel. This one's pretty cut and dry, so I'll just say plainly, Pierce Brosnan is better at the gun barrel than Roger Moore is, and that continues here. The design of the Tomorrow Never Dies gun barrel is more interesting and detailed, the music is better, and the actual shot is better. Therefore, Tomorrow Never Dies is off to an early start. Round 2 is the pre-title sequence. For those that have seen my previous ranking of the pre-title sequence, you know my answer, but I think it all lies in the details of these scenes. Tomorrow Never Dies is a very fun concept of Bond trying to escape an arms bazaar before a rocket comes to blow him up. The action is cool, the explosions are over the top, and the transition into the title sequence is, at least I thought, very funny. But in every way, Octopussy does this similar concept, but better. Bond is literally being chased by a rocket for 3 minutes instead of, slowly flying away from one. He's fighting an entire army instead of two guys. The jokes are even more corny, and the transition into the theme song is almost the same shot as Tomorrow Never Dies, but with a better singer. I have recently reviewed Octopussy, and this is the best scene in the film. I love both, but Octopussy wins the round. Round 3, the theme song. This is where it starts to get a little messy, because if we were counting the rejected Katie Lang theme song from Tomorrow Never Dies, we would have a clear winner. But we can't, and that is the problem, because both theme songs are infuriatingly average. On one hand, Sheryl Crow's Tomorrow Never Dies feels like her mumbling for 2 minutes, which I know is kind of ironic for me, but Octopussy isn't a thing of beauty either, with its one redemption being the saxophone solo at the beginning. For me, though, what is the decider is that Octopussy is at least memorable, and its use in the score, I think, adds to that. That's not why it wins. I'm just saying it's a bump up in a way. Therefore, Octopussy does win, but I will give Tomorrow Never Dies a half a point for the rejected theme song, because it is that good. Round 4, the title sequence. Here's Exhibit A. So yeah, Tomorrow Never Dies wins, no shit. Round 5, the Q branch. This was a tougher one because Tomorrow Never Dies doesn't really have a Q branch scene, but more of a conversation between Bond and Q. It's a clever scene because it plays off of banter to drive the scene, unlike Octopussy, which is mostly driven by corny jokes in the form of, well, bad gadgets. I went with Tomorrow Never Dies here for its originality, but I do think that Tomorrow Never Dies has a vastly underrated Q branch scene, and I want to acknowledge it a little bit more. What was so good about how the new Q was introduced in Skyfall was that shade that Bond and Q were throwing at each other. It was clever and funny. Tomorrow Never Dies does the same thing here, but with an actual gadget in the form of the remote-controlled car. It's just a great scene, whereas Octopussy, like the name of the film, feels a little, well, rapey in this scene. Round 6 is the Bond girl, and this is a very good debate, one that I've gotten into ever since I made a ranking of the Bond girls video a few years ago, but this is what it comes down to. Tomorrow Never Dies, Wade Lynn can kick ass, and Octopussy can match Bond in pretty much every aspect, such as wit, brains, and power. The reason Tracy and Pussy Galore are so good is because they hold these traits: the wit, the humor, the power, though. And even though Waylon is, an independent, strong woman who don't need no man, the title goes to the lady who got a film named after her, Octopussy. Round 7's the henchmen, and Octopussy has the greatest ensemble of henchmen outside of probably Goldeneye in the entire series, whereas Tomorrow Never Dies is a Red Grant 2.0, 3.0 if you count The Living Daylights, who's trying to seem cool but just ends up coming off as, well, overacting. I was watching Tomorrow Never Dies while creating this list, which may make me a little bit biased, but nothing can redeem this film against Octopussy, whose knife-throwing henchman and Indian man could both very easily make the top 10 list overall of every henchman in the series. Hell, it's like having Mr. Winton Kid plus an Indian odd job in the same film. It's beautiful. And yes, I know about the Doctor in Tomorrow Never Dies, but, well, let's be honest here. It's really, is that really the hallmark of a great henchman? Number 8's the main villain. Keeping up the same theme, Octopussy has a ton of villains, yet Tomorrow Never Dies only has one. If you've watched my review of Octopussy, you'll know that one of the biggest problems in this film is that the film should have been about Bond versus General Orlov. That is what the film is about, but so much of the screen time is taken up by the battle between Octopussy and the other villain, Kamal Khan, that the story of Khan and Orlov, however intertwined, overshadow one another. It weakens both of them. But in Tomorrow, Elliot Carver is almost like a scary authoritarian with how he runs his business, and his power as a villain is extremely interesting because it's all through the media, not bombs, like almost every other villain, including the ones in Octopussy. Carver's the man, and Tomorrow Never Dies wins again. Round 9's the villain plots, and I pretty much just discussed this, but Octopussy is convoluted as hell, and that is the biggest problem of the film. Tomorrow Never Dies is a pretty weak one in that it is stupid as hell, and Carver was gonna get caught eventually. Like, really, you're just gonna get news early and bribe people, and no one's gonna notice. But Carver is a man of originality, and I will give Carver that credit. So say it with me: Tomorrow Never Dies wins again. And yes, my voice just cracked. Round 10 is the stunts, and this is another very subjective one because it's a matter of what you find cooler, and for the two films with so much action, there was a lot to choose from. Octopussy has everything to do with on or around the train as well as the final plane sequence. Tomorrow Never Dies has the building jump and the motorcycle jump over a helicopter. For me, holding on to random shit moving really fast was done in a cooler way than the granted badass jumps were in Tomorrow Never Dies. It's frankly your take, people, but my vote's Octopussy. Round 11 is the vehicle chase, and I think Octopussy is one of the best forgotten chases in the series when Bond and Orlov are both trying to catch up to the train that has the bomb on it. It's very creative in how Bond uses train tracks to move after the tire rubbers on his car blow out, and it ends with one of the best scenes in the film as Orlov gets shot trying to cross the border to get to the train. And of course, the scene in India is great as well, but this is all superseded by the car garage chase where Bond controls his car through his phone. And this is before smartphones, people, and not to even mention the motorcycle v helicopter chase that happens later on. Brosnan films are built on action, and in every way that Octopussy does them well, Tomorrow Never Dies just takes them to a whole new level with more explosions and actions involved. Plus, we get some great stunts in these scenes. Tomorrow Never Dies wins again. Number 12 is the Bond henchman fight, and usually with a better henchman comes a better fight because it feels like more is at stake because Bond usually is facing a harder challenge. Think Renard, think Jaws, think Oddjob, think Red Grant. Those fights were great because Bond could genuinely lose. He could actually have a shot of getting defeated because the guy's more powerful than him. And the same is true here. In Octopussy, the Knife Brothers could genuinely kill Bond. So every fight, especially the last one in the forest where Bond is cornered with the guy in the knife, although it's short, it's very effective. The same is true with the Indian guy on top of a fucking plane. In Tomorrow Never Dies, sure, Stamper is stronger than the guys I just mentioned, but I feel like he's too stupid, really, to ever actually have a shot. Red Grant was awesome because he was so smart, and you could totally see the mental game between him and Bond all film. Stamper is the Mary Goodnight of henchmen. Sure, he's strong, but Christ, you could just tell from the very beginning Bond was going to beat him in a fight. Octopussy wins. Number 13, the Bond villain fight. Kind of a throwaway because Bond doesn't really fight any of the villains in this film, but damn it, the death of Elliot Carver in Tomorrow Never Dies is just about perfect. Although the death of General Orlov, as I've discussed heavily in my review of the film, is pretty damn good as well, Carver's death takes the cake here because Bond is actually responsible for it. Although I do think Orlov's death is a better one. Carver and Bond actually go against one another in this final scene. They share a few punches, and you got to love the absolute irony of Carver being killed by the very drill that has caused the entire plot of this film. It's a great fight if you want to call it that, which I will, so Tomorrow Never Dies wins. Round 14 is the M performance. There is one line where Bond and Moneypenny are flirting, and when Moneypenny hangs up, she turns to M and says,
"You always were a cunning linguist, James. Don't ask. Don't tell."
M in Tomorrow Never Dies throughout the entire film is very funny and just a witty asshole. She's literally being Pierce Brosnan, so Tomorrow Never Dies clearly wins. I can only remember M being in Octopussy for one scene, which easily could have been edited out. It's when M gives Bond his new identity, which he never uses. So yeah, there's really no contest here. This is the big one, people. Number 15, the Bond performance. This is very much a matter of taste. Before I go into this, I do think it's important to note that Brosnan is my personal favorite Bond. I don't think he's the best, but he's my favorite. He's got wit, humor, the physical appearance, the skills for the action sequences, and just a general magnanimity, which is, I know I botched it, which is what you want from a badass hero. Roger Moore, on the other hand, is the most lovable and likable Bond, and he's easily the funniest and most relatable. What is so great about his performance in Octopussy is that he hits it out of the park, and I personally believe it is his best acted film. Brosnan, on the other hand, is pretty much the same in every one of them. The World's Not Enough is probably his best acted, but honestly, I can't even decide. Roger Moore, though, plays the shit out of the role here. He totally embraces the stupidity of the film, and he even adds to it in how jovial he is in reading the lines, and just seems like he's having fun with the entire experience. Don't get me wrong, Brosnan is pretty damn great here, but with the exception of middle film Connerys and maybe Spectre for Daniel Craig, Roger Moore in Octopussy is the best performance in the series. Octopussy wins a tough one here. Yeah, sorry gang, we're not done. Number 16, how well it dates. Both don't at all. The plot of Octopussy doesn't even make sense anymore, whereas the technology in Tomorrow Never Dies is just, well, the film couldn't work today. But Octopussy depends on too many things that would not work today, or actually, back then. I talked about that in my review, particularly Russia invading all of Europe unchecked, which I live in America. That won't happen. Bond getting away with stealing at a prestigious auction. I could go on, so Tomorrow Never Dies wins. Number 17, and this is the last one, you're welcome, more action. This is incredibly difficult, but unfortunately for Octopussy, it is undoubtable that raw action simply gets better over time. I know a lot of the best action films are in the 80s and 90s, but the best action, like raw action, for the most part occurs now. I love Octopussy, and I think that the fights are very clean, and the action is very exciting, but damn it, Tomorrow Never Dies has some good stuff in there, so Tomorrow Never Dies by a smidge. So what's the overall score? I just want to say right now, I love both of them. If you've seen my ranking, they are both in the top 10, but the overall score is Tomorrow Never Dies 10.5 points, Octopussy 7. So objectively, in my eyes, Tomorrow Never Dies is an objectively better Bond film. That doesn't mean it's a better film. It's just, if you're looking at what are the main traits that make up a Bond film, Tomorrow Never Dies holds that better to its core. So what do you guys think is objectively a better Bond film? Which one do you like more? Disclaimer, I personally like Tomorrow Never Dies more, but Octopussy is a very fun film. Whatever it may be, leave it in the comment section below. And as always, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Comment if you want to see another matchup. I actually very much enjoyed doing this video, and I'd love to see it. Anyways, see you guys next time. Ciao.